ערב שבת קודש, פרשת תרומה, תשפ"ג. The שיעורים of ספר שמות are donated לרפואה שלמה to Mrs. ברנדל בת רלה. הקדוש ברוך הוא will send her רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף. אל נא רפנה לה, אל נא רפנה לה, אל נא רפנה לה. This week's parasha is donated in memory and the Ilui Nishmat Mr. A.B. Apples Saruya. Ruach Hashem Tenechenu Began Eden. Amen. This week's parasha, we are reading about building the Mishkan. And the pasuk says about the wood that the Mishkan was built. The pasuk says, ועשית את הקרשים למשכן, עצי שיטים עומדים. You shall make the planks of the Mishkan standing, wood will stand. The Gemara added here and said, what is Atzei Shitim Omdim? So the Gemara brings several opinions. What is the meaning Omdim? One opinion is Omdim, they are standing as they grew in the ground. Means the way that they put the wood in the ground was exactly as they grew. Not the top down, but as the root was down, so the same thing, even though the wood was prepared, they were cut, it was not, it didn't look like a tree. And nevertheless, they put it as they grew. Another opinion is, Omdim, says the Gemara, Omdim la'ad ul olmei olamim. They are standing forever. Means to say, even though that the Mishkan was put after Shlomo HaMelech built the first Mikdash, they were put in the Geniza. So even the wood that was only a wall of the Mishkan will be used in the future. They will be holy la'ad ul olmei olamim. Not as the Mikdash Rishon and Mikdash Sheni. These two Beit Mikdash were destroyed. Nothing remained from them. But the wood and the Mishkan remained la'ad ul olmei olamim in Gniza, and after this will come a time that they will be used. And the question is, why you have to say it especially on the wood of the Mishkan? In order to answer it, you have to pay attention to one letter that was added in this pasuk, and we don't have it in other pasukim. In all the other instruments of the Mishkan, the pasuk says, Asita ve'asu aron, ve'asita shulchan, ve'asita menorah. You don't say ve'asita ha-menorah, ve'asita ha-shulchan. Only by the krashim, about the wood, the walls of the Mishkan, the pasuk says, ve'asita et ha-kerashim, the extra hay. The extra hay bothered also Rashi. And Rashi brings the Midrash and says, Ha-kerashim, hey ha-yedi'ah, the kerashim, the wood. Means this was a special wood that was well known. among Am Israel. And what is this? What are these wood? The wood that was prepared for the Mishkan. When Yaakov Avinu came to Eretz Mitzrayim, he brought with him cedar plants, and he planted them in Egypt. And Yaakov Avinu told Am Israel, when you will get out of Egypt, remember to cut them and to take it with you, because in the future you are going to build with this wood the Mishkan to worship Borei Olam. Maybe the reason that Yaakov Avinu planted them in Egypt and told Am Israel about it was in order to give them hope, that they will look all the time on this wood, and they will remember that Yaakov Avinu promised them that they are going to have a Mishkan, and they are going to use this wood to take it with them. This is the Hey HaKerashim. They were only walls to the Mishkan. The work was done behind it. Nevertheless, they have the Kedusha as all the other vessels in the Mishkan. Because if one thing is missing, there is no Shekhinah in the Mishkan. And therefore, and the Targum Yonatan continues and says, the wood, they had to be combined together to stand, because there are strong winds in the desert. So therefore, they were put in Adanim, in the ground. Every piece of wood had two pins, and the two pins went into a special block which was made of silver. These are the Adanim, and they were put in that they will stand strong and they will not fail. But nevertheless, there was something that combined all the three walls of the Mishkan. What was it? This was the Briach HaTichon. What does it mean, the Briach HaTichon? In every wood that they put, there was a hole. The hole was standing exactly opposite the other hole from the other wood. So, and says the Targum Yonatan on the Pasuk, Ve'asita et ha-briach ha-tichon, says Targum Yonatan that the Briach HaTichon was a bigness. It was a wood, the wood that Abraham Avinu planted in Beersheba. This wood had a special characteristic. The wood could have turned around the three walls. Something very strange. A wood is a straight thing. But nevertheless, when they put the wood into the holes from the right side from the right wall, it went through the holes till the end, turned to left, and then again turned to the left, and surrounded the whole three walls. And when Am Yisrael had to move from the place, they took out this wood, and the wood became short and straight. This is written Targum Yonatan on this pasuk. Why they needed this piece of wood? This wood, the angels threw it to the sea in Yam Suf. When all Am Israel were gathering the gold and the silver around the sea, on the seashore, Moshe Rabbeinu took this wood. And the angel said that there is the wood from Abraham Avinu. In the Mishkan, we had Aron HaKodesh, the Torah, Mizbeach Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim, because Abraham Avinu is Amud HaChesed, and therefore they used this wood, and this wood was the Bria Chatichon. This was a special wood that connected and held strong the whole three walls. And we are learning from here that what is the instrument that can hold and combine and connect strong? Chesed. And therefore they used this wood of Abraham Avinu. We learned from here that the wood that Atzei Shittim that built the Mishkan, Yaakov Avinu planted them for the Mishkan. Means from the very beginning, Yaakov Avinu thought this is going to be for Mishkan, for Mikdash, something that from the very beginning you are doing it L'Shem Shamayim, without any other thought, any other thing, not in order to have my name written on the donation. And a person is donated it from the very beginning. L'Shem Shamayim is eternal, and therefore we can understand why even of the wood, the Gemara said, Atzei Shittim omdim la'ad ul olmei olamim. They will stand forever, because from the very beginning, it started the whole thing about bringing it to the Mishkan. Close to this thing, we find in another pasuk something very interesting that we see later on. In Parashat Vayakhel, we have a pasuk that says that the women, they וכל הנשים, מפרק ל"ה, פסוק כ"ו, וכל הנשים אשר נשא ליבן אותנה בחוכמה, טבו את העיזים. Says the pasuk, all the women whose heart inspired them with wisdom spun the goat hair. This is an explanation. The pshat, goat hair, means to say they used the goat hair after it was cut. But the Gemara doesn't understand it this way, because in Hebrew the pasuk says tavu et ha'izim. The pasuk doesn't say they tavu et ha'tzemer, the wool of the goat. And the pasuk says they tavu et the goat themselves. Means to say they didn't cut the wood yet. What they did, they weaved and they worked with the wool while it was still connected to the goat itself. And for this, Therefore, you call them the wise, all the women whose heart inspired them with wisdom. For this, you need a special wisdom. One of the explanations why they did it this way, in order to start from the very beginning to donate it to Kedusha of the Mishkan. And this is a big lesson to everyone to learn from here, that if you want that whatever you do will be eternal, things that has to do with Kedusha, do it 100% L'Shem Shamayim, without any other involvement of any other thought. Only L'Shem Shamayim. We have a lot of proofs of this, but this is not the time. I would like to go now back to what we started last week, that I promised I would continue to show that Megillat Esther has a status of a Sefer Torah. And we see in the Gemara, that mezuzah, for instance, when you write mezuzah, our mezuzah, when we look on it, it has lines, carved lines on the parchment. According to the halacha, it's not needed. It was done only, it's needed only according to the halacha in a Sefer Torah, also Megillat Esther. Mezuzah doesn't need it. Why are they doing it on mezuzah? You know that they help the sofer to write. But Sefer Torah needs it. And the Gemara says, in the Sefer Megillah, says the Gemara, that Megillah tzricha sirtut, needs the lines like a Sefer Torah. Another thing, so we see from here that Megillah has the same halachot of a Sefer Torah. Another thing that we find, that Megillah is like a Sefer Torah. You know that Sefer Torah, the Gemara starts to deal with a lot of psukim, to explain a lot of psukim in the Torah. Megillat Esther, in Masechet Megillah, almost every pasuk, the Gemara makes a darush on the pasuk. This makes it like a Sefer Torah, that every pasuk you start to make a darush. You don't do it on other Megillot, but on Megillat Esther, it's being done. Another thing that it's good to pay attention, and with this is very chidush, a big chidush, I will tell you here. You know that Ezra Sofer established to read Sefer Torah and Mondays and Thursdays, that do not go 3 days without reading in Sefer Torah. And Ezra said that you will have to read at least 10 pesukim a time, not less than 10 pesukim. This is what he established, and this is the halacha in Shulchan Aruch, Maran Bet Yosef. The Gemara says, "Ein pochatin ma'asara pesukim bebeit hakneset." Asks Tosfot a question. Not less than 10 pesukim always when you read the Torah. We look in the reading for Purim, that we read, Vayavo Amalek, Vayilachem in Yisrael berefidim, as it is written at the end of Parashat Beshalach, we read it on Purim. We have there only 9 pesukim. So how come we do it? The Takana was that we have to read 10 pesukim. There is and even more. Since we need 10 pesukim, says the Tosfot, we should add from another parasha, from before. Let's start a little bit some pesukim before, in order that we will have at the end at least 10 pesukim. So there is an explanation by Orchot Chaim that says that Purim, reading about Amalek, you don't deserve a complete thing, 10 Pesukim. Why? Because you, Amalek, you also did something that you cut the name of Borei Olam, and you cut also the chair of Borei Olam. As we say at the end of Parashat Beshalach, Ki yad al kes ka. Kes? What is kes? Kiseh. But Amalek, because of Amalek, the chair, the kiseh of Borei Olam is only a kes. It's not a complete. And also, ka, not Yud Kei Vav Kei. Name of Borei Olam and chair of Borei Olam is not complete. Therefore, the parasha of Amalek is also not complete. But I saw in the Sfat Emet a nice explanation. And he says, we read on Purim, first of all, we start to read the Torah, and immediately after reading the Torah, we read Megillat Esther. What is the whole idea in Megillat Esther? What do we read there? We read there about Mechiyat Amalek, because all Haman, Agagi, and all the people that the Jews killed in Shushan, 75,500 people, all the places, look, in all the places that it is written there that the Jews killed people, Goyim, says Targum there, Kulhon Rufilin mi Beit Amalek. All of them are officers from Amalek. Means the whole Megillat Esther. One of the ideas is Mechiyat Amalek. And immediately after reading the Torah about the story of Amalek, we read the Megillah. So says the Sfat Emet, the Megillah completes the 10 pasuk. Means to say, you lift the Megillah to such a status that it becomes like a pasuk in the Torah. And we have to know that according to the poskim, you have to read the whole Megillah at once, as you read a letter, because Megillah is also a letter. It's called a letter. And a letter, you don't read with breaks. You read it at once. And therefore, you have to read the Megillah at once without a break in the middle. And the Baal Koreh, if you will hear the Baal Koreh, doesn't make any break, only a breath. But it doesn't make a longer break between the chapters. So the whole Megillah looks as if it is one pasuk. So this is the pasuk that completes the 10 pasukim to the 9, and really we have 10 pasukim. But this will be good only according to the opinion of Ashkenazim. But we, the Minhag Sfaradim, Minhag, the Syrian Minhag is that in order to have 10 pasukim, we read twice the last pasuk. Ki yad al kes ka milchama l'Hashem ba'amalek midor dor. The Baal HaKoreh, he read it one time, and then he repeats the pasuk in order to have 10 pasukim. So we see from here that Megillat, according to the Sfat Emet, that Megillat Esther has a special status that gives it as a power or a value like a Sefer Torah. As we mentioned before, that last week, that Megillat Esther will stay forever, even though that all Levim Uktuvim are going to be cancelled in the time of Mashiach. But two things will remain, Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Megillat Esther. Because in Megillat Esther we mention, it's written there that Am Yisrael re-accepted upon themselves the Torah. And therefore, if you cancel Megillat Esther, we will not have this acceptance. So this is what we see. What is the power of Megillat Esther? There's a power of a Sefer Torah. We can see a little hint to this in another place also. We are learning that the Gemara learns Derasha-Parashat, that from where we know that you read Megillat Esther is being read twice in 2 days, on the 4th and the Gemara wants to know when do you read 15th, when 14th? On the 14th are reading all. So we see there that there is a Zera Shava from Megillat Esther, Harim HaPrazot, to Sefer Devarim, Milvad Mare HaPrazi הרבה מאוד. How can you make a Gezerah Shava from Chumash to Ketuvim? There is no such a thing. Gezerah Shava you can make only in a Sefer Torah, in the Sefer Torah itself, but not from Sefer Torah to Ketuvim. But the Gemara did it. Explains the Mefarshim. We see from here that Megillat Esther has a special status as a Sefer Torah. Next week we will continue to speak about Purim, and I want to wish everyone a Birkat Shabbat Shalom, and see you in next week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.